Tanya Catch grew into Elizabeth to Pennsylvania state. She lived with her dad and stepmom in 1996. She was 14 years old, and she went to Cornell High School. 37-year-old schoolguard named Tomas Hollis became friends with Tanya. Tomas often picked her up from class to talk to him. One day, he caught her doing that. What is she skipping lessons and forced to kiss him as their relationship develops. Tomas was convincing Tanya to escape from home and move to live with him. 10th of February, 1996. Tanya packed her things and left the house. Her parents thought, what? Did she escape? This has already happened repeatedly, and reported her disappearance only a week later. Because of her story with escapes, police eventually will give up searching in just a few days after thinking that girl ran away willingly. 10 years later, in 2006, a 24-year-old woman named Nikki Allen walked into the grocery store and told the seller that her name is Tanya Catch, and she is held captive by Tomas, and has been held captive ever since. How was she a teenager? Police arrested Tomas after escaping and coming home. Tanya wrote a book about her experiences called Memoir About Cardboard Baby. Story of Tanya Nicole Catch. She wrote books about her ordeal. In the beginning, when Tomas lived with his parents, Tanya was kept in his bedroom on the second floor. Tomas went way too much to hide Tanya. She wasn't allowed to leave the bedroom, and she had to go to the toilet in a bucket. Most of the time she only ate peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, banana, and a can of soda. About a week later at night, Tomas was taking her to a basement with the cold concrete floor to take with you in the shower. She said in an interview, at first I was fine, that I was in love, and felt that my sacrifices were the result of my love for him. Soon this test began to take its toll. In the 2000th year, Tomas created a new identity for Tanya Nikki Allen and introduced her to his parents as his girlfriend, which is moving in with him. After this, Tanya was allowed to leave the house from time to time with strict curfew. 10 years after that, how did she live with Tomas that did not escape? In the 2007 year, Tomas pleaded guilty to 3 counts in not voluntary hold, forced sexual acts, indecent assault under procrastinating circumstances, statutory sexual violence, intervention in child custody, corruption of a minor, and threat to the life of a child. Tomas pleaded guilty and was sentenced to a prison term of 5 to 15 years. Stephen Kabatsky went to College Club, a small private Christian university on the southeast shore of Lake Michigan, in February 1978. Stephen braved for a few hours single cross-country skiing. In the future, he will not return home. A day later, when he already did it, he was reported missing. Searchers found his skis and ski sticks by Lake Michigan and footprints on the ice leading the lake, but no one left. When lifeguards flew over that area, became known that track seemed to end at the edge of frozen water. There was no sign of that ice broke somewhere, and no hints of that. What happened to Stephen later the same day? His backpack was found in the same area that his ski. There was no other evidence, and it seemed that he dissolved into the air shortly after. The search was terminated. Then 15 months later, the 5th of May, 1979, Stephen walked up to his dad's house and rang the doorbell. Stephen was surprised finding out he was reported missing 15 months ago. He told his father that very badly remembers where he was. Stephen said what he suddenly woke up Paceldi 700 miles from that place where he went missing, lying on ice in clothes which did not belong to him. He also had a little bag next to him, lay a pack with cards, but none of them belonged to him. He said he felt like it, as if recently ran. His dad used to live in Episville, 40 miles from that place. Where did he wake up, except that he didn't remember where it was, and what happened to him in the last 15 months after his return. He refused to speak to reporters since he didn't have any memories of that. What even was he refused to talk to the therapists and said that there is no need for that since he doesn't have any psychological issues. In the year 1983, Stephen got his master's degree in linguistics, and years later Doctor of Philosophy in clinical psychology. Many have spoken that by his disappearance, he helped many find themselves writing a book and understanding psychology. In the 1900s, Dr. William Grazio Bates was a respectable ophthalmologist in New York. In August 1902 year, William wrote a note for his wife to tell that he was drafted from the city to perform some basic operations, and he also wrote, "Nice to get so much money for all of us." He also added to his note that he was in a rush and will write the details later. The note was weird. William was already a rich man, and his excitement about money seemed strange. But William didn't come home and write as the note said. When he didn't come back, wife started looking for him. William was an outstanding man. His brother and wife seek help from the Masonic Society to try to find it. They spread pictures of him around the world. Soon his wife will get information. William worked as a paramedic at the hospital in London. After that was first admitted as a patient. Oddly enough, despite that, William had a bank account with a lot of money with whom he could live in luxury, and in London he is reported malnourished more. So when his wife came to London, William didn't recognize her but accepted her offer to stay with her at the hotel to rest and help him regain his memory. In a hotel, he seems remembered how he was called from New York to he got on a ship and had surgery on someone with brain abscess. After hearing this, his wife decided to stay in London to help him regain his memory. But 2 days later, William left the hotel and disappeared again. Wife will never see him again. In the next few years, she tirelessly searched it up in Europe and America until she died in 1907. In 1910, Dr. Kelly good friend William drove through Grand Forks, North Carolina, State Dakota. There, she will face Willem working in ophthalmological clinic, which he himself organized shortly after his second disappearance. He still doesn't remember his past. Kelly convinced him to go back to New York and practice together as partners. William was married 3 times. Twice widowed. He married Emily Lehrman, his longtime personal assistant. William never remembered his past. Natasha Rayan was a 14-year-old girl living with her parents in Rockhampton, Queensville State. 31st August 1998. Mother took Natasha to school. When she came back to take her, she was no longer there, and she was reported missing to the police. An exhaustive and extensive search was conducted for her. For month giving disappearance, Natasha ran away from home with the help of his 21-year-old boyfriend Scott Black. 2 days later, she was found. Scott was fined $1,000 in November 1999. Where did he plead guilty? In intentional obstruction of police. He got asked, does he know anything about the second disappearance? What did he reply to? What? Doesn't know. Where is Natasha located? 8 months after Natasha disappeared, another girl named Caro Stenhart is missing while walking from home to school. After a few leads, police arrested Leonardo John Fraser. Several women went missing during Natasha's disappearance. Police suddenly began considering the possibility of that Leonardo was a serial killer and possibly killed. Also, Natasha's hopes of finding her diminished, and soon she was officially declared dead, believing that she was a victim of Leonardo. In the year 1999, Leonard confessed to 5 murders, including kills and Cara and Natasha. It was believed that this confession was made as part of a deal with the police to avoid the general population in jail, given the vague opinions prisoners have about rapists and child killers. Then the 10th of April, 2000, and 3 years when in Supreme Court Leonardo's trial was underway, police searched his house. There they found Natasha alive, hiding in the closet. It turned out that Natasha faked her disappearance and lived with her boyfriend Scott since the disappearance. 31st August. During the first year, Natasha did not have any contact with the outside world. She rarely left her boyfriend's house and stayed inside with the lights off and the curtains drawn. Whenever people came, she was hiding in the closet for years. They moved multiple times under cover of night from one house to another. She lived in Rockhampton for 6 months before how she was found in 2003. 2 days later, Tasha attended her own process in a murder case and told the court that she never dated him. Leonard never recognized the witness, which stated, "I saw her with him before." How is she missing? Jury finds Leonardo guilty of 3 murders and the 13th of June 2003 years. He was sentenced to 3 life sentences. He died in jail 1st of January 2007 year. In later interviews, Natasha spoke what? By then, when she wanted to reunite with her mother, it was already too late. The lies got too big, so she hid in 2005 year cattle. Plead guilty to lying to researchers. He didn't know her whereabouts. District Court sentenced Scott to 3 years in prison for lying certificate. A year later, Natasha was found guilty in excited false police investigation and fined for $10,000 by John Darwin. 21st of March 2002 year. John Darwin, teacher and former prison warden, went canoeing on the North Sea. He was last seen rowing a canoe site in Carrio when he didn't come home. His wife and Darwin reported him missing. Mass searches involving police began and Coast Guard, who covered all the way from site in Carrio, will be worthy. The next day, his double paddle was found in the sea. However, no trace of John could be found. The search was later terminated and Jonas Chili dead. A few months later, his broken canoe was supposed to show up in the North Garry near the place known as the Blue Lagoon. In April 2003 year, Darwin has been officially pronounced dead. His death certificate said that after going out to sea, he probably ran into difficulties, as a result of which he died. Using a death certificate, grieving widow Anna was able to claim her husband's inheritance rights. Life insurance field in the amount of £25,000 teacher pension worth £25,000 pension of a prison officer in the amount of £58,000 as well as a payment of £4,000 Ministry of Labour and Pensions and another £137,000 from the FOG insurance pool. The total amount was £249,000. Darwin was considered dead until the year 2000. In the 2007 year, a man came to the London police station, introduced himself as John Darwin. He told investigators that doesn't remember anything about the past few years. He could give his name, date of birth, and personal data, but did not remember where he was. In an interview, she said that she is beside herself with joy that husband is alive. However, the police investigated his disappearance, getting a tip that John could be alive and live in Panama. Soon, Darwin's story was exposed as a lie when photos appeared on the internet which he posed for with his wife in 2006 year, proving that he was alive all this time. It turned out that John faked his death to avoid significant debts from its real estate and stock business. Incredible, but then helped him cope with it. He and his wife planned their death to demand insurance money to pay off debts. According to John, after he faked his disappearance, he moved to the Lakeland and regularly called in to find out if the shore of his return home is free. A few weeks later, he came back to his home and settled in the neighbor's house, which belonged to the Darwin family. During the day, he lived in a nearby apartment, and at night sneaked into the house through a secret door hidden behind the closet. This couple lied to the family church workers, even their own sons, who didn't know what is he alive. Meanwhile, his wife was faking in front of friends, neighbors, and their 2 sons that her husband died. Over time, John became more and more confident in himself and dared to Go out putting on a cap and regularly lame to hide your identity. One day, one of the tenants recognized him and asked, "Aren't you supposed to be dead?" John begged him not to tell anyone. He got away with it. In 2006, Darwin came up with a new plan to move to Panama to live more openly. He asked for a birth certificate in the name of a dead boy who was born around the same time that, and he took advantage of the birth certificate. He applied to get passports in the name of the deceased child, John Jones. His wife told Sons that she needs to start a new life and she will move to Panama. Spouses flew to Panama on the 14th of July, 2006 year, where they were photographed by a Namese real estate agent, and the resulting photo was posted on the internet. They planned everything in advance to buy their house. However, after changing the Panamanian visa legislation, John told wife that their personalities must be confirmed by British authorities, and this time, his pseudonym will not pass. Then Darwin decided to go home and pretend that suffers from amnesia. However, by that time, the police had already investigated its fate after Anna's colleague overheard a telephone conversation between spouses. Anne was convicted of 6 counts of fraud and 9 counts of money laundering and was jailed for 6.5 years. She served 3.5 years. Darwin pleads guilty to fraud and also in fake obtaining a passport, and was imprisoned for 6 years and 3 months. He was released in the year 2011 after serving half the sentence.